If I undo this one a bit, we can get it to the middle.
Yeah.
It's a deliberately discreet, low-key protest. But the villagers of Stoke Poges in South Buckinghamshire are furious. Banners are being erected and a washing line of T-shirts adorned with the slogans of campaigners who want to stop a new Sikh-free school, a school free of local authority control.
It's been foisted upon us with such disregard.
According to the Department for Education's own website, free schools are all-ability state-funded schools set up in response to what local people say they want and in order to improve education for children in their area. But the residents of Stoke Poges insist they don't want this one.
We're trying to draw attention to the outrage where the village is having a school imposed upon it against its wishes. There's no local interest in this school, there's no local demand for this school, and yet central government has determined that it's the right place to locate one.
We had no say whatsoever. We've done our best to make ourselves heard, but nobody seems to have listened to us at all.
There's concern too about the consultation process.
I think it was flawed. When it started on the 7th of January, we didn't actually know about it at that point. The first that we heard about it was the 11th of January when a local resident spotted an advert in a Slough newspaper.
This is the object of their fury, the former headquarters of Pioneer UK, the audio equipment group. It's now been bought by the government, reportedly at a cost of £4.5 million, and for a year at least will become the Khalsa Secondary School, a Sikh faith school run by the Slough Sikh Education Trust. Stoke Poges is a smart, comfortable little village within easy reach of London. It's solid Tory territory. But it's now festooned with the campaigners' posters. The villagers complain that they didn't learn about the proposed school until January, that it will encroach on the green belt and wreck the village as children are bussed in and out. But was race also an issue? Questions will inevitably ask as to whether Stoke Poges simply doesn't like lots of Sikhs coming here.
No, this is about a school. This has got nothing to do with religion. This is a secondary school being located in a village which is a totally inappropriate location. So any secondary school.
And at the moment this is all green belt, is it?
This is all green belt. The whole area here is green belt.
Right.
The proposed school building, or the existing building, which is going to get change of use, is at the top of the lane here.
Right. This is the proposed site plan for the new school. It's an ambitious scheme. There's a new sports hall, a martial arts dojo and other sports facilities, including archery. There are even stables. The villagers had assumed that a development like this in the Greenbelt would require planning permission. And in March this year, Lord Nash, the Under-Secretary of State for Schools, wrote to one of the campaigners saying he was aware of the strength of feeling among local residents of Stoke Poges about the likely impact of locating the Khalsa Secondary School in Pioneer House. And he added, South Bucks District Council, which is currently considering the planning application, will determine whether Pioneer House is a suitable location for a school, in line with the guidance issued by the Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government. But recommendations from South Bucks planning officers made it clear that the planning application should be rejected on several counts, including the erosion of the green belt, the increase in the intensity in the use of the site, the fact that it's a key employment generating site within the green belt, and that it's poorly served by public transport. But on May the 21st, the planning application was withdrawn the day before it was due to be heard by the planning committee. And the reason? Just a few days later, Clause C of the General Permitted Development Order came into force. It allows free schools to be set up for a year without planning permission if the Secretary of State approves. Stoke Poges is one such school. The planning application and the recommendations of the planning officers were put aside. The leader of South Bucks District Council said that local people will again be unable to voice their significant concerns over the many aspects of this development in the Greenbelt. And the villagers now had a new complaint against the government. So this is the proposed sports field across here, is it?
It certainly is. This is the 5-acre site just to the south of the building.
John Homan, a chartered surveyor, has lived for 32 years across the road from the proposed school site. So, as a chartered surveyor then, from the planning side, what's your reaction to all of this?
Well, I'm horrified. I'm horrified really that the local planning process hasn't been allowed to run, that the planning application which was submitted back in February was withdrawn literally the day before the planning meeting. The local planning officer put in his report, made a recommended refusal on at least 6 grounds. So it totally undermines democracy and local objections, local opinion.
Free schools are supposed to be a response to what local people want, but what is local? Stoke Poges is a tiny village of 4,752 people, while the proposed new school in the village, according to its public consultation report, will have a catchment area that includes not just Stoke Poges and other parts of South Bucks, but Slough, Iver, Hayes, Southall and Hounslow. Slough, across the border in Berkshire, is just a mile or two from Stoke Poges, but a very different community. It's home to 14,889 Sikhs, more than any other local authority in England and Wales. There are 2 Gurdwaras, Sikh places of worship, and there's a Sikh primary school open to all children that was graded as outstanding by Ofsted. But surprisingly, it was hard to talk to supporters of the secondary school. Nick Candola, chair of the governors, said he was unavailable and that he couldn't help us with any other interviewees. Jagdish Singh, as a legal advisor, was also coordinator of the Sikh Community Network. He strongly supports the idea of a Sikh secondary school that would be open to all communities and teach Sikh values, but he's not happy about its location in Stoke Poges.
That you can't just superimpose a huge physical establishment and the associated traffic and the incoming movement of population into an already existing community like that. I think it's disruptive, intrusive and imposing. I share their concerns. It's a green area.
He argues that there are other possible locations in Slough and that though Stoke Poges is not anti-Sikh, there could be repercussions.
We're sowing the seeds of hatred, division, polarisation, which we should be actually avoiding, and not just avoiding, but actually sowing seeds of understanding and mutual regard.
We visited Stoke Poges on the day that Lord Nash, the Under-Secretary of State for Education, had planned to be here. He was supposed to visit the site of the new school before holding a private meeting with the village council and others opposed to the school. But it became clear that plans had changed. Lord Nash was due to meet some of the villagers here at the Stoke Poges village centre, a meeting they say they'd been campaigning for 8 months. And because this was to be a private meeting, we accepted the requests of both sides and said we would not film it. But we did film the protests outside the proposed school. And because of that, it seems that Lord Nash has now abruptly cancelled the meeting here. The villagers we talked to were not impressed. At a pub across the road, we met Jonathan Dodd, one of those who'd been preparing to meet the minister.
I would like to ask Lord Nash why he's chickened out. This is just another example of the DFE pulling out at the last minute, as with the planning application, as with the meeting today. And what is it he's got to hide? What is it he can't be accountable for, when in fact he should be explaining why he's run roughshod over this community?
I thought I lived in a democracy. I apparently have absolutely no say in this whatsoever.
Lord Nash declined to take part in this programme. We were told by the DFE that his meeting with the parish council was postponed once it became clear a private discussion was not possible. We understand the parish council have been invited to meet the minister in London next month. And as for the Pioneer House site purchased by the DFE, it will be the temporary location for Khalsa Free School. A final decision has not yet been made on the long-term use of the building. The department is continuing to look at other sites. Meanwhile, the Khalsa Secondary Academy Free School will open in September with an initial 120 Year 7 pupils.